Hey guys, it's James Walsh here from the Wrestling Epicenter. I'd like to thank you for finding us here on YouTube. If you get the opportunity, please click that subscribe button as well as the notifications bell. This way, anytime that we upload any new content or new to you content from our archives dating back to 2002, you'll be notified. You can check out what we're up to. Please also check out www.wrestlingepicenter.com for all your wrestling news and information needs, as well as check out our store to keep us running free and clear. Without any further delay, let's get to why you're here. Thanks for checking out Wrestling Epicenter on YouTube.
And welcome to 3 Count Wrestling's main event this afternoon. Are you ready? That's right, are you ready? He's Buff, he's the stuff, and he's on 3CW. Buff Bagwell, what's happening, brother?
What's going on, guys? What's up?
Not a whole lot, man. Good to hear from you. We originally set up an interview with Buff, and unfortunately we had a schedule conflict. But I'll tell you what, this guy is such a stand-up dude. He called me back the very next day and said, "Hey, man, I'm sorry about missing that interview. Let's try to reschedule this." And we're talking to a very, very busy gentleman right here. This guy's real busy, but hey, I really appreciate that call back, man. You're definitely a stand-up guy.
You know what, dude? Somewhere along the line, I got sidetracked or misunderstood in the wrestling world. I'm not quite sure why or when or how, and really, it's not up to me to try to figure it out. But at the same time, it's a fact. But that right there, like we talked earlier, is really how I've always been. And for some reason, that turned to heat over the years. I'm not sure when it did, but it did, you know. But I am straight up. I tell it straight. And I think when I was Marcus Alexander Bagwell, and I told it like it was okay. And then when I became Buff Bagwell and more of a name and more of a threat to topper talent, for some reason telling the truth wasn't cool no more. You know, people start taking it, serious, like, they'd say, "How was my match?" I said, it was horrible. You know, and they respected that for years. All of a sudden, that became heat. Like, man, Bagwell, God, he said that to me, you know? So very, very weird, but I appreciate that, and like I said, it does me. I care a lot about everything I do, and that's one reason why I stay busy. You know, is because I return these promoters' phone calls. I follow up and make sure everybody, I take this like a business still, you know, and I look at it like a business, for Buff Bagwell, and I stay busy doing it. So,
hey man, we appreciate that at 3CW, and definitely no heat here. But let's get into the questions. But first, you mentioned you're busy. Why don't you tell us what you've been up to, man? What are you promoting? I know you got a commercial appearance coming up in March, and doing a whole lot of other appearances. Why don't you fill us in on what Buff Bagwell's up to?
Well, man, if I'd have known 6 years ago what about the independent, I probably could have got rich again. But I didn't know. I was too depressed about, WWE going down and WWF at the time taking us over, and then they didn't want me, and I was depressed and beat up about that. And I was getting thrown in the independent world, and I just didn't really realize how much money there was to be made in the independent world. So before I realized that, I've been living for 2 years, on the independents, in the independents. So I finally started taking it a little more serious and really taking cool pictures and doing the gimmick thing. And I work twice a week. I still like what I do. I do believe I have another run in me at 37, but that's not up for me to decide. I talked to Johnny Ace just the other day, and we played phone tag for a week, and just say hello, just say, "Hey, man, what's up?" And then TNA, they promised me if it goes to 2 hours, I'm in there, but that's just talk, and I hope to be part of that, but I don't know. I would really like to be part of the team again. Is the main thing. I was talking to you earlier about I'm in 10 cities next month. 10 cities. That's 10 different promoters, 10 different sets of guys. 10. It's just kind of tough when before it was so much fun to be part of a team. Same guys, and you're all working toward one thing, a rating or a draw house, or what I'm saying. So just staying busy with independence, dude, and hoping for one more run at this thing.
So I guess it's safe to say we can call the month of March the Buff Bagwell Intensities in 10 Cities tour.
That's it. Let's do it.
There we go, man.
All right, awesome. Well, towards the end of 2006, you did make a couple appearances with TNA. So I guess the first question is when Sting introduced you, and in the unique way he did, was there any sort of like surprise or did you know that he was going to quote unquote shoot with you?
Yeah, they pulled us in the back on that, and at first I didn't see where they were going with it, and then and I'm trying to think now how they convinced me that it made sense, but it didn't matter what they said, to be honest. Getting invited down to TNA for the first time in a long time and all that, I wasn't going to say nothing. I was going to be, hey, how you doing? Thank you, and appreciative because of the heat I've got in this business, and just wanted to, make sure everybody saw me, and hey, and do my job, do what they told me to do. So it didn't matter what they came up with. But I did think it was a little funny on the, the old probation thing and all that. I was like, really cool with this. But when they did it to Luger too, I said, well, they can't be ribbing me. They're doing it to Luger too. So either ribbing both, at least I'm not going to look stupid by myself, or either both going to look stupid or it's going to kind of make sense on TV. I'm not sure which. But, so no, it wasn't a surprise. I knew it was going to happen. And it didn't really offend me or affect me when they asked me. It just, because, help the world knows it anyway, really,
Now, is Wrestling Societyx even worth talking about as far as somewhere you'd like to work?
Dude, I'm gonna be totally honest with you. I've never even seen it. I've heard about it. I've heard. I mean, I really can't even. All I've heard is I've heard about it, not seen it, so I don't know. I've heard it's like crazy, high flying. Sounds like everything that Buff Bagwell don't do and don't want to do, but I'd have to see it before I could make that assessment, because I really haven't seen it yet,
Gotcha.
Well, I guess obviously the money is a lot different than now, working the independents than when you were in WCW. I guess the question I have is, does wrestling still pay the bills, or do you have to supplement it with side projects and other things?
It does still pay the bills, but barely. I mean, like I said, I full-fledged had to go at this thing wide open for it to be my one source of income. It's all I do. But it's dig, scratch, Polaroids, sell my gimmicks, I completely, can you cuss on this channel?
We can edit it. Don't worry.
Well, I basically professionally whore myself out the best I can, and I try to keep it in a professional manner, but, I'm selling Polaroids, pictures, T-shirts to make a living, but I work twice a week, and it does still pay the bills, but, it's tough, man, it's tough.
And for those of you listening out there wondering, whore is okay to say under FCC guidelines.
There you go.
I didn't get a broadcasting degree for nothing. Oh, that's a personal joke for myself. I laugh at it. Anyway, now, as someone with such high marketability as yourself, do you have any idea why WWE and even TNA have kind of shied away from you since your heydays with WCW?
Well, that's $1 million question. I mean, honest to God, I get asked that probably, without exaggeration, I get asked that 10 times a month. 10 times a month, I've got to answer that question. So not only do I got to be part of WCW going under, being a millionaire and that going away, being part of a great organization and that going away, getting put into another organization and then kicking me out or firing me, whatever you want to call it. Not only was I had to be part of all that, I got to relive it 10 times a month. That's pretty deep, And I explain it 10 times a month to everybody that asks me, and I don't know. I really don't. I'm still blown away. I still look exactly the same. I still show up. All that stuff you hear on the internet, forget it. Check my website out. I'm booked regularly for a reason, because I show up. I'm dependable. I I still look like Buff. I still bring the top hat. I still care, and it just blows me away to no degree that they don't want, when I watch the show, I watch both shows and I think, God dang, they could fit me in here if they wanted to, but then I start thinking maybe there's 100 guys saying that. But, honestly, I don't think there is 100 guys saying that. I don't think there's 100 guys that can say that, to be honest with you. I just really don't. I don't think there's that many guys out there that can do or did do what I did that are completely outcasted from both organizations like I am. So I really don't know. I wish I could be part of one of them again so bad, and I just don't know why, and I get the same thing everywhere I go, why are you not on there? Well, what's going on? I don't understand, and I wish I could have taped that for the last 7 years and sent it to Vince. It may not have done any good, but at least they would see that people still care and want to see me out there. One time in Greenville, South Carolina, a buddy of mine called me and goes, hey, let's go to SmackDown. And I went, are you kidding me? I can't go sit at the stands at SmackDown, Hung the phone up and I went, you know what? That's a great idea. Called the guy back and I said, you know what, bro? Let's do it. We get a limo, and I was, at this time, I'd done an MTV a commercial or something. I was real lean. I was like 230 and shredded, really in shape. And so it was perfect timing for them to see me in shape too and all that. And put any kind of, any kind of rumors out that I wasn't in shape or didn't look good. And so we go to the Bagwells Center in Greenville, South Carolina, and sit on the floor with tickets. And halfway to Greenville, I started thinking, you know what? This may backfire on me. What if nobody recognizes me or notices me or sees me? This may go the other way, And I walked in the door and just absolutely got completely mobbed. And just autographs and pictures and why are you here? And you're going to be on the part of the show. And so we get to my seats on the floor and there's a line from the floor all the way up the aisle. And I'm taking pictures and autographs, and there's cameras, and everybody's like, and the matches are going on at SmackDown, and it's causing complete disarray. And I'm thinking, this is perfect. This is what I really wanted to happen, And all of a sudden, here comes Johnny Ace. Johnny Ace comes walking out, sits down in front of me, he goes, hey man, what's going on? Hey Johnny, how you doing? Stand up. Hold on a second, Johnny. Stand up, click. Hey, man, hey, sign an autograph. The guy walks off, So I'm doing an autograph session while I'm talking to the talent relations main guy, And he goes, which I'm good friends with, Johnny, And he said, why didn't you call me for tickets? He goes, what are you doing here? I go, I came to see a wrestling show. And he goes, why didn't you call me for tickets? And I said, Johnny, your phone don't call back. And I said, hold on a second, Johnny. Hey, how you doing, man? Still shaking hands, still doing the pictures. Thinking to myself, this can be any better. They're actually seeing Buff Bagwell in their auditorium during their matches getting autographs. How much more of a resume do you need? So he stood up and he goes, hey, man, come to the back with me. And I had a split second to make a major decision. And I was like, if I go to the back, I'm going to get heat for being here, and all the guys are like, what's he doing here and all that. And if I don't go to the back, then I didn't do what Johnny Ace asked me. So I was like, sure, okay, buddy, let's go to the back, So all he was trying to do, I know it, was just get me out of the way because it was causing too much of a commotion for the show to go on. So I go to the back with him, we talk for an hour. And I was trying to get away from him because he was busy. And I was like, man, go ahead and do your thing, bro. He goes, no. And he said, so finally it ends up and he goes, I'll call you this week. We'll talk. And I said, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. That was 2 years ago.
Wow.
So, if you can't have a better resume than that right there, I mean, just think about that. If you owned a wrestling company, if you owned anything that somebody showed up and was getting attention at, I want them on my team. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, they don't look at it like that. I don't know why. Don't think for a second that they don't know that I'm booked the way I'm booked. don't think for a second they don't know that I'm one of the most used independent guys. You know, don't think for a second they don't still hear I'm in shade. They know if they want to know. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know why is the sad part of the ending of this equation. I don't know why, but I wish it would, you know, include me back involved.
We hope they do the same too. It'd be great to see you back on TV, man. You'd be amazed at how many people said, "Oh my God, you got Buff Bagwell on your show." I told, you know, a bunch of people I know about it. A lot of people were just, you know, they were very surprised, and they knew who you were, obviously, you know, and they were really psyched for it. So I know we'll have a lot of people listening to this one, obviously.
Yeah, and I also have a side story about that. When I told people that I was gonna interview Buff Bagwell for this show, there were a lot of people who didn't know you from wrestling, but they did know you from a particular movie you did in the mid-'90s, Day of the Warrior.
Late 90s, I did 2 of them.
Yeah, I believe the other one was Return to Savage Beach.
Very good, very good.
Now, I've seen Day of the Warrior, and it's one of my favorite movies of that genre. And now, I do have a few questions, and one of my friends asked me this first one. What was the point of the match you had with Julie Strain?
Let me think what that storyline was. I mean, keep in mind, it was a hokey pokey, you know, Skinamax kind of movie, and
yeah,
I mean, I really enjoyed doing it. I had a blast doing it, and Andy Sedaris is a 11-time Emmy Award-winning director, believe it or not, the guy that did that, and they treated me real well and paid me real well, so I love doing it, and I hear a lot about it, you know, from doing it, and but it was something. See, what was the deal? I was a bad guy in the first one, and they had brought somebody. You know, I can't remember, dude. I don't know what the story. That's a very good question. I don't know why. It was like I was. Well, I do remember now. In the very beginning of the movie, it stated that I was an ex-pro wrestler, now gone bad, and blah blah blah, and the jewelry and blah blah blah. So it did state that from an Indian native background or something.
Mm-hmm.
So at least it was stated that I was a pro wrestler at once. So I don't really know why it tied together on me actually wrestling them in the end. I don't really know.
Wow. A couple more questions about that. Now, in addition to Julie Strain, there were quite a few other attractive women, Zap included, I guess. Zap from American Gladiators. My buddy wanted to know, was there any sort of quote-unquote hanky-panky going on set?
You know what, dude, those kind of movies, man, everybody thinks, you know, like, oh, man, you know, they're naked, and, you know, how do you do all that, and blah, blah, blah. Man, all their husbands are there, there's cameras in your face, and it's total business. It really is. I mean, it's, even in the second movie, you know, me and Julie did that scene in the pool, and she was totally naked, you know, and they asked me, do you want to be nude? And I said, absolutely not. I said, in a swimming pool? I said, are you kidding me? And I said, you know, the camera's on me, everybody's husbands are watching this stuff. I said, no way. So they put a flesh-colored thong on me, and but she was totally naked, you know. But her husband's sitting right there watching, and we're all friends, and it's just kind of more of a just, we're at work and let's get it done, you know.
Absolutely. Well, final question about the shooting.
Ray Hollett, that was her name.
Yeah. I guess the final question I have about the film was, did you get any ribbing from your fellow wrestlers for playing, quote-unquote, the Warrior?
You know, as amazing as it sounds, never once.
Wow.
And I'm trying to even think as you're asking that question, why I didn't. And I think why I didn't is because wrestling was just so hot at the time that nobody really cared. I don't think that, you know, that you're copying the Warrior's name, or, you know what I'm saying? And it wasn't me that picked it, you know, is that what you're going with it, the Warrior?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I never heard one thing about it. Never once. And even the Warrior, when he came back to us, never said a thing about it. So I think it just was known. It was the name of the movie, and I didn't pick it, of course, obviously. And so there was zero heat, zero ribbing, about the name The Warrior. Now I got brutalized about, the movie and, all that, in a funny ha-ha sort of way, but never once was the name a rip.
Okay.
No, he's the wrestler formerly known as Jim Hellwig's a very interesting cat. What was it like when he showed up in the locker room?
He went around a whole lot. He signed like a $750,000 40-shot deal or something. And that was one of Eric's mistakes at the end that, broke us. But yeah, he went around a whole lot. I mean, he had his own dress. You're talking about own dressing room, own catering room, limo. I mean, I may have saw him like 5 times. So
wow.
He was very, very exclusive.
Now, speaking of the acting thing, what was it like with your experience on Charmed as compared with Day of the Warrior?
A much bigger production. I mean, that was L.A. and more of a what I was looking for. More of a when I first got into wrestling, my plan was to do acting. I wanted to become an actor, and how else better to be noticed than to be on the highest rated cable television show in the history of time, or at the time. And so, it was just, a lot more Hollywoodish, and not hokey pokey spots and hokey pokey, directors. It was, it was the real deal, I mean, like Andy Sedaris, even though he was a very successful, director, I mean, his wife did this, and his grandmother was working on this, and his uncle was doing this, and his son was doing this. It was a family-run organization, out in Charmed. It was a Hollywood production, so it was much different.
Well, a few more questions, and then we can let you go, and thank you for spending the time with us.
Sure.
We love interviewing veterans of wrestling, and one of the questions that always comes up is this almost criminal lack of respect from young wrestlers about those who have drawn money like yourself. Is that something you've experienced on the independent circuit?
Not really. Everybody's always pretty nice to me. At least to my face. I bet you I haven't been. And I mean, I've got a really bad temper, and I'm pretty smart aleck myself, and I don't put up with nothing. I don't put up with nothing at all. Nobody. And I honestly may have been in 2 altercations in 7 years on the road. It was over something like, somebody being a little cocky in the room or saying a little something or not wanting to. What was Kid Cash one time? He didn't want to do a run-in in my match. And not because it was me, because he didn't get paid to do 2 things. And he was saying all this and didn't know I was in the room. But what nobody else knew was he asked to sit beside me at the gimmick table to sell his picture, so he could make more money. So here I come up with an angle for him to run in and do something in our match, and he turns it down. And I said, and so I walk up behind him. I said, "Wait a minute, bro." I said, "For starters, what about you asking about sitting beside me at the gimmick table?" I said, and I said yes to that. I said, "You're going to do this," and he's a little smart out too, So of course he did it, but I've only had about 2 altercations in the independent world. It really is not. Everybody really respects me and is nice to me and gets autographs and always apologizing and getting pictures, and I'm not trying to mark out on you and all that stuff. So everybody's pretty nice about it,
Now, out of all the championships you have won, what did you find more gratifying, being a tag team champion or having a singles championship? Which one is your favorite?
By far, tag team. Not because it's more gratifying, because it's more fun. I'm a much better tag team wrestler, I think, and I'm not sure why. Maybe because that's how it started. I'm not sure, but I just really learned the tag team match, better that I learned a singles match because I did it for so many years. So obviously I was much better at it, you know. I mean, I knew how to milk the tag and make when it was time for the hot tag, and I was really good at that. And I was trained by a lot of guys who were good at that. So I think the gratification definitely is more for tag team.
Is there any possibility of seeing a reuniting of Totally Buff?
I'd say absolutely not. Me and Lex just talked yesterday, but he just does appearances here and there, and he don't really do any more wrestling anymore. But he does do a few, you know, autograph signings, things like that. But no, that's definitely done and gone. The age is the gap now is much bigger than it needed to be.
Well, okay. Well, I've got a final question. I don't know if Bill has any more. And once again, thanks for spending the time with us. Of all your gimmicks, Buff Bagwell, Marcus Alexander, and of course, one of my personal favorites from the GWF days, the Handsome Stranger. Sorry to bring that one up.
Are you kidding me? I love him. I love that. I mean, you would not believe the absolute over top talent guys that literally one-on-one, not under nobody, would actually pull me to the side and go, you know what? I'm not ribbing you when I say this. I kind of like that gimmick. And I was always embarrassed about it and kind of dogged it out and tried to hide it and things like that. But you'd be amazed at some of the older guys that really dug that gimmick. So I quit being ashamed of it years ago, and it was just part of my, you know, trying to find Buff, you know.
Mm-hmm. Well, of the three gimmicks, which one closely resembles you, and which one was the most fun to play?
Well, by far, I mean, that's not to dog out your question, but the entire object to acting or wrestling or anything in life is to be yourself. But in acting and pro wrestling, the more you can be yourself, of course, it's going to come across a lot better on camera. And Buff's the closest thing. Buff is an exaggerated Marcus Bagwell. If I wanted to really be cocky and mean and just let it all hang out, it's just kind of an exaggeration of Marcus Bagwell. So that's definitely the closest to how I really feel and how the person I really am, and I had the most fun doing that by far.
Well, my favorite question to do at the end of the interview is probably the funniest road story you can tell without getting anybody in trouble.
Wow. Me and Scott Norton, Steve Regal was on a flight home from Japan, and me and Steve Regal were sitting in business class, and Norton was, you know, big Japan. He was over in Japan big time, so he was sitting in first class, and we were in business. And this is probably '96, and Norton gets me and Regal moved to first class. So we go to first class, and I'm sitting beside Norton, and Regal's behind us in first class, and so the stewardess is coming by, and I noticed that, you know, we're having a few beers and getting ready to have a sleeping pill to sleep across, to go across the ocean. And we, of course, as wrestlers, we had it all timed out to have our dinner, and then take a few pain pills or whatever, and go to sleep, And so during this little melee, Regal got a little too sloppy, and but he was fine. He dozed off, went to sleep. Well, we take off, and we're in the air, and all of a sudden the stewardess wakes me up, and I'm on the window seat, and Norton's dead asleep, and she's like, "Can you help your friend?" I look back, he's laying like in the aisle of the airplane. So I get up, and I say, "Man, come on, buddy, so get him up, put him back in his seat, his seatbelt back on him." And she goes, "I'm sorry about that." She goes, "No problem." So, I climb back over Norton and go back to sleep. Well, wake back up again. She wakes me back up again, and now he's like staggering around the first class cabin. And so I go get him again, sit him back down, put his seatbelt back on him, everything, you know. And this time I noticed there's like food all over his shirt. And I was like, oh my God, you know. So I cleaned him up a little bit, you know, put his seatbelt on and everything. Well, all of a sudden, you know, tires hit. We're landing. And I'm trying to wake up and thinking, there's no way we're in the atmosphere, you know? And I said, hell, man, here we are, you know? So I'm trying to get my composure together and get my senses about me, and I raise the little blind and look outside, and there's snow everywhere, man, you know? I'm like, here we are in the atmosphere, you know? So before I even get my senses about me, man, the door opens, and there's 6 police officers run on board. And they like, get your stuff, get off the plane now. And I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on? He said, not another word, get your stuff, get off the plane. Well, now I look behind me, and Regal's still, you know, he's all messed up still, and I'm thinking, oh God, what's he done? So I'm trying to wake up, figure all this out, at the same time, get off the plane. So as we get off the plane, I see all these police cars, literally the plane just stopped on the tarmac. They rolled the stairs up on the tarmac, not even to the gate, just on the tarmac. And there's police officers everywhere, and I see Anchorage police. We're in Anchorage, Alaska. And so the wind's hitting me, it's cold, I'm kind of waking up now, and I'm trying to think, you know, man, what's going on here? You know, so we get to the bottom, and I said, look, I said, what's going on? I said, I'm totally lost here, you know, and as they start trying to explain it, they start moving the tarmac, the wheels back and go to take off. I go, wait a minute, what about our bags? And they're like, no, your bags are gone. The flight's taken off. You guys are kicked off the plane. I said, whoa. I said, Steve, I said, I love you, buddy. I said, you're on your own. I said, look, I don't know what went on. I said, but he's his man, himself, and I'm a different person. They said, no, guilty by association. You guys are all together. I said, well, what did he do? And what had happened was he went to the bathroom, and while he was in the bathroom, the door hadn't closed all the way. And a stewardess went to try to close the door, and he turned and peed on her.
Oh.
So after the food incident and falling on the floor and walking around the cabin, he pees on her on top of that. So he got arrested on the spot, and I think almost got deported. And their Bischoff called me, and he's like, tell me the truth or I'm going to fire off radio. Because he, of course, who would believe, because he peed on the stewardess, they kicked me and Norton off. I wouldn't believe it either. Right. But I said, bro, I'm telling you the truth, Eric. That's the honest to God's truth, you know. So during that time, I don't know exactly the records or the timing, but to check back on it, Eric fired him for a while, I think for 6 months or a year. But that was pretty crazy.
Wow.
Well,
But I can honestly say I've never heard of or myself have peed on a stewardess.
I never have either. That's a pretty good one.
Yeah, that's crazy. Wow. And I have to fly up somewhere in May, so hey, you never know what'll happen.
You never know.
Exactly. Well, thanks a lot, Buff. We appreciate you being on our show here.
and if you could give us a plug for your website so we can get some promotion for you.
Yeah, go to check it out, man. It's the Real Buff, therealbuff.com, therealbuff.com.
That's right, therealbuff.com. Check out Buff Bagwell right there and keep up to date with everything he's doing. This is a very busy guy, and I really appreciate you calling me up and setting this interview back up with us, man. That's a really cool thing. We appreciate it.
No problem.
So this concludes another stellar edition of 3 Count Wrestling, exclusively found on the WrestlingEpicenter.com.
My name is James Walsh, and I'd like to thank you for checking out the Wrestling Epicenter here on YouTube. If you have not done so already, please do. Click that subscription button and the notifications bell. This way you'll be notified anytime I upload any new or new to you classic content from our archives that date back to 2002. If you get the opportunity, please also check out www.WrestlingEpicenter.com for all your wrestling news and info needs, as well as our store to keep us going free and clear. Without any further delay, let's get to why you came here, the content here on YouTube.